This is Algebra 2, Lesson 1.4. We are rewriting equations and formulas. A couple goals. We're rewriting equations with more than one variable, and we're looking at some common formulas that we'll see towards the end. Starting on page 26 of the textbook. Example number one is rewriting an equation with two variables. Solve 9y plus 4x is equal to 7. Solve for y. Anytime you see something written like that, and it says like for something, or it has like a semicolon after it, that's the one it wants you to solve for. So what it wants you to do is get y all by itself. So what you're moving over for the first line or the first step is you're moving 4x over. So remember, anytime you work your order of operations, you work please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or you work your operations in that order. But when you undo stuff, you go backwards. You work Aunt Sally, then my dear, then excuse, then please. So it says plus 4x. You have to subtract 4x on both sides. So what that leaves you with is 9y is equal to 7 minus 4x. And most of y'all, like I was telling you about the boxes or the blanks a little while ago, most of y'all, if you would have been doing this on your paper, you would have written negative 4x first, then plus 7, because we've gotten in the habit of y equals mx plus b, which is a good habit to be in. But just for the sake of this, we'll go with it the way they have it right here. 9y equals 7 minus 4x. Then you want to get y by itself, so you divide by 9. Now, when you add and subtract things, you only add and subtract from the like terms. When you divide, though, notice both terms, the 7 and the negative 4x, are being divided by 9. But that gets y by itself. And notice this is in an equation that we could graph. We would reorder it to make it say negative 4/9 x plus 7 over 9, and then we could graph that. Almost all of us are comfortable, even if you might have forgotten it, are comfortable graphing y equals mx plus b. In the white space in the margin or on the back, there's plenty of white space. Work on this problem by yourself. 11x, this one's not on the sheet. 11x minus 9y equals negative 4. Solve it for y. I'll give you about a minute. Okay, we're trying to get y by itself. We want to get y equals all by itself. That's the goal. So we just look at the left side. Sometimes it helps if you cover up one side to where you can see what you got to do. What do I got to move over there? I have to move 11x over, and I got to move negative 9 over. Okay, now it's not that simple just moving it. We have to figure out how to move it. Remember, work your order of operations backwards. This is positive 11x or plus 11x. So you undo addition and subtraction first by subtracting 11x right here. If you subtract 11x on the left, you have to subtract 11x on the right. Now, you're not going to get negative 15x, because remember, those are not like terms. All we can do is write them side by side. And like I told you a little while ago, most of us, when we solve this, since we solve vertically instead of horizontally like it does on examples, would write this as negative 9y equals negative 11x, then negative 4. But if you put negative 4 first, it doesn't matter. It's not going to make the problem wrong. So that's step one. We still don't quite have y by itself. If we look, we have negative 9 multiplying by y. So in order to get rid of that negative 9 multiplying by it, we need to undo multiplication by dividing. We want to keep y, so divide by negative 9. Remember, if you divide one side by negative 9, you have to make sure to divide everything on the other side, this and this. by negative 9. Now, a negative divided by a negative follows the same rules as a multiplication. A negative times a negative. We're going to get a positive 11 over 9x. Same thing with negative 4 divided by negative 9. We're going to get a positive 4 over 9. And that's all the reducing you have to do with that, since 11 and 9 don't have a common factor, and neither do 4 and 9. But make sure you have positive for those. If you wrote this as y equals 4 over 9 plus 11 over 9x, it's still correct. Remember, you don't have to change it. This is just a better habit to be in because it's in mx plus b form already. Example number 2 is calculating the value of a variable. It says, given the equation xy plus 3x is equal to 2, find the value of y when x is 2 and when x is negative 2. So what's going on here is it's giving you two different values. You guys have done tons of problems like this. You might not think you have, but when you do things like this where you have an x and a y and you say, okay, well, what about negative 2, 1, and 0, something like that? You're actually doing 3 of them like that. That's the first way you learned how to graph, in fact. So for the first one, it says xy plus 3x equals 2 when x's value is 2. So all we're going to do is we're going to rework the entire equation, then plug the two values in. So move over the plus 3x, and that's why it says to subtract 3x from each side. When you do that, it cancels it out on the left and just leaves you with xy equals 2 minus 3x. The next one, you want to get y by itself. So if you just look at the left side, it's x times y. So you have to divide by x. So notice here, 2 minus 3x over x. Some of y'all might have written it the way I did on the last example. You have to do this divided by x2 and this divided by x negative 3. Make sure you do both terms. When you do that, you get y equals, and this is just one of them at a time we'll look at. You have y equals 2 minus 3 times, and then this is where it plugs this first value in. X's value equals 2. Notice it's plugged in there, and it's plugged in here. That's just plugging it in place of x. So 2 minus 3 times 2. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. 2 minus that is negative 8. And then negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 2. Notice it just kind of jumped through all the arithmetic for you. Not that big of a deal. Again, you guys have been through all of this already. The other one was when x's value is negative 2. So at this point, all of your values that are x are now negative 2 instead of positive 2. So again, negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. 2 plus 6 is 8. And 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4 for that one. So that's just solving the variable for y. That way, when you get y by itself, all you do is plug x in really simply at the end in order to get the value of y. Again, everybody on the back, solve this one. Take about a minute and a half. Remember, get y by itself first, then plug in x is 4 and x is 2. Get y by itself first. Okay, again, I know some of y'all feel rushed when we're going through this, but we'll get better at going a little bit quicker with this. So we have x times y minus x equals 4. The first thing we want to do is we want to get y by itself. So if we look at this problem, we want it to just say y equals by itself. So if we do that, remember you undo your order of operations in reverse order. So undo addition and subtraction first, which means we want to undo this minus x. So add x to both sides. If you add it there, you add it here. Remember, you're not going to get 5x. You're going to get x plus 4 on that right side. So we have x times y, still there, this is going, equals x plus 4. Again, some of y'all might have gotten 4 plus x means the exact same thing. Then get y by itself by dividing by x. If you're going to divide by x, divide this whole side by x. Again, you could have written it underneath both of them, but it'll come out to be the same thing. So now we have something that says y equals x plus 4 divided by x. Once we have that, the value of y, this is what it is. So let's take each of these, and in place of the first one, let's say y equals negative 4, because that's x's value, plus 4 over negative 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is going to be 0 on the top, and 0 divided by anything is 0. Remember, you can have 0 divided by something and it gives you 0. But if you divide something by 0, 0's at the bottom, that's when it doesn't work. The other one, we'll do it in red, is 2. So y equals 2 in place of x plus 4 over 2. 2 plus 4, y equals 6 over 2, y equals 3. And those are your two answers for that equation when it's that. And we'll go over the rest of 1.4 tomorrow.